So there's something so glamorous and noir-ish about old Hollywood. It was known for its glitz and its glamour, but a lot of shocking things went on behind the polished facade. Life was very different back then, and these old Hollywood scandalous secrets give us another insight into what life and love were like for yesterday's biggest stars of the stage and screen.
Dirty secrets,
of
man.
Course.
We're getting into dirty secrets, the nasty stuff, man. Stuff you guys wouldn't even think about.
Literally, it was a darker world back then.
Dude, it was so dark, people didn't care, no one had rights, got punched in the head a lot. Today we're gonna be cracking down a list of the top 10 scary old Hollywood secrets. Anyways, I'm your host, Jade Arena.
I'm your other host, Eamon Hassan.
And let's get into this video. Let's do it and stick around to the end till bloopers, because we're gonna bloop it up.
What was that? Stick around till the end till bloopers.
Bloopers, because we're gonna bloop it up.
Starting us off with number 10 is Little Women. Okay, so I have the book, but I've yet to read it or watch the film. All I know is that one of them dies, and that's only because Rachel ruined it for Joey and Friends. So why I'm talking about Little Women right now is because this one's actually about Joan Bennett, who played Amy March in the film. Now, Joan has been represented by Jennings Lang for 12 years, and as an actor myself, it's really hard to find an agent you want to stick with for that long, so this was special. On the afternoon of December 13th, 1951, Joan met the VP of Samjath agency about an upcoming TV show, so she met up with Lang and the two drove off in his car. A few hours later, her husband Walter Wanger saw her parked car there and thought it was odd. When Joan came back and got into her car, Lang leaned over the window to speak to her, and Walter, seeing this, thought they were having an affair. He walked up to the car and shot Lang twice, and when Joan saw it was her husband, she told him to quickly leave. Lang recovered, and Walter claimed he shot him because he thought he was breaking up their home. Surprisingly, he only served 4 months in jail, and they stayed married. I don't know how her husband thought she was cheating on him with her agent of 12 years, but it makes more sense now that I'm saying it out loud.
Alright, coming in number 9 are babies. Love a little cheeky fat baby, don't we? Now it can be hard, it can be easy to be a mother in Hollywood. Hard because you're shooting a film at the time, or the fact that the tabloids will body shame you if you don't get that pre-pregnancy body back, but also good because at least you have a ton of money to spoil your kid with. Now, if you could already tell, old Hollywood was dark. Like today, way more women in the industry have suffered than men. Starlets back then were encouraged to not get married as long as possible, and under no circumstances should they get pregnant. But screw that, love is everything. When huge actresses like Bette Davis, Judy Garland, Joan Crawford, and Lana Turner got pregnant, they very swiftly got abortions because their studio bosses encouraged it. I'm using the word encouraged lightly. By encouraged, I basically mean they were forced, otherwise their careers would be in shambles and their agents would leave them. That is horrible.
At number 8 we have the MOBSTER. So I know I mentioned in another video that the mafia has a huge role in Hollywood, but this one isn't about all that. This one is a love story. Now at the end of the 1950s, mobster Johnny Stompanato started dating actress Lana Turner, and the two had a tumultuous and abusive relationship. He would beat her and once drugged her before taking naked photographs of her without her consent. It got so bad that when he realized Lana and Sean Connery were such good friends, he stormed the set of Another Time, Another Place and threatened him with a gun. And that got his ass deported. Now a day after the Academy Awards, Johnny went to Lana's house and they started arguing, and it got very heated. He threatened to kill her, her mother, and her daughter, as well as breaking each and every one of their bones. Mid-argument, Lana decided enough was enough and broke up with him. Now her daughter Cheryl was in the kitchen while all this was happening, and she grabbed a knife and ran to her mum's defense because she was scared he would kill her there and then. As Johnny was opening the bedroom door to leave, he apparently walked into Cheryl's knife and was stabbed in the stomach. They called the ambulance, but he was dead by the time they arrived. And upon interrogation, Lana begged police officers to put the blame on her, not her daughter, but to no avail. Cheryl was arrested but not charged since it was a justifiable homicide. There was also a major conspiracy that Lana had actually been the one who stabbed him, and that Cheryl took the fall. And also, how do you just walk into a knife? Surely when you open the door, you're looking in front of you and you're like, ah, there's a knife, let's not walk into that.
Anyways guys, coming to the number 7 spot is The Cover. John Huston was an American director, actor, and screenwriter who made legendary movies like The Maltese Falcon, The Misfits, The African Queen, and more. But you know, as brilliant as people can be, everyone has their flaws, and John's was that he worked hard and played harder. He was an alcoholic and a massive player, but then again, who wasn't? Before he made his directorial debut, John was grinding hard trying to make it as a screenwriter. Sometime in the 30s, John John was drunk driving and he hit dancer Tosca Hulin, killing her instantly. He was absolved in court, but evidently the event had scarred him so much that he left Hollywood for 5 years and moved to Europe until 1937. A huge controversy at the time was that it was actually Clark Gable who had hit Tosca, but MGM fixer Eddie Maddox paid John to take the fall. Damn it, Hollywood can be so dirty.
Now at number 6 is the age gap. Now Jerry Lee Lewis, who I'd heard of but didn't really know anything about, was kinda dusty if I'm honest. And cut me some slack, my parents weren't even born in his heyday, how would I have even known about him? Now what threw his career into the gutter was the fact that he married his cousin Myra Gale Brown in 1958. But the scandalous part wasn't that they were related, because apparently that can be sidestepped. No, the scandalous part was that he was 22 years old at the time and she was 13. And in terms of the whole cousin thing, technically she was his first cousin once removed, as in she was his cousin's daughter. Myra even said, "We kept thinking every year, every 6 months that it was going to go away. They're gonna stop talking about it, and it just didn't happen." But it brought me and Jerry very close, and we had 10 incredible, wonderful years together after that. Firstly, I didn't even know it was illegal for a 13-year-old to consent to marry anyone. What is that about?
Alright, coming in at number 5 is the X-rated film. Joan Crawford was a legendary actress, signed with MGM, acted for over 6 decades. What more could you want as an actor? Oh yeah, to have no skeletons in the closet with that much fame. Joan was not that lucky. In 1935, MGM was blackmailed into paying $100,000 so multiple pornographic films of Joan would be destroyed instead of released. I mean, you gotta start somewhere, right? Everyone has an OnlyFans today. The only snag in all of this was the fact that Joan may have been a minor when she appeared in these films. And apparently it was her brother Hal who was behind the blackmail, and he even threatened to release her sex tapes mere days before he died. How did he even get his hands on his sister's sex tapes? Very creepy. I mean, we'll never know the truth about what really happened or if these tapes existed, but Crawford denied ever doing explicit films in her memoir.
At number 4 is the feud. Okay, yes, I know there have been and forever will be countless feuds in Hollywood. May it be over a guy like with Angelina and Jennifer, maybe it's over attitude like with The Rock and Vin Diesel, or maybe they just don't vibe with each other like Matt Damon and Emily Blunt. Well, I could list off the many documented instances of Frank Sinatra being a total douchebag. I'll let you guys find those stories in your own time. Or maybe I could do like a top 10 scary times Frank Sinatra was scary. Nah, that doesn't really have a ring to it. Anyway, in 1955, while shooting the musical Guys and Dolls, Sinatra and Marlon Brando were not vibing. Brando had started trying to incorporate method acting into his work, and Frank told him it was crap. He also started calling him Mumbles because of the way he spoke, which is outright just childish and petty. Come on, Frank Sinatra, my parents and I expected more from you! Brando got his revenge in the end by intentionally blowing takes in a scene where Sinatra had to eat a bunch of cheesecake. Does this sound super lethal? I know, but it did make Frank have a breakdown during which he threw his plate and broke it. Not very professional, Mr. Sinatra.
Okay, coming in the number 3 slot is the action star. Now I know when you think action movies, a few names automatically come to mind, like Dwayne Johnson, Jason Statham, Vin Diesel, etc. But before Tom Cruise and even before Pierce Brosnan, there was an action star named Wallace Reed. And googling pictures of him, he almost looks like Mortimer Goth from The Sims. Anyone else getting that vibe? Just me? Okay, now during the silent film era, Reed starred in a lot of movies with his actor-director dad. He was famous for doing his own stunts like a lot of action stars do now today. But all that came crashing down in 1919 when he was filming The Valley of the Giant. During filming, he was critically injured in a train wreck and sustained a 3-inch scalp wound. But since the show must go on, he was put on morphine to help the pain so he could continue filming, and that slowly turned into an addiction. And keep in mind, this was happening during the 1900s, when rehab was as big as scandals murdering your own brother. So the studio hid the issue and tried to hide his addiction as well. But with addiction, hiding isn't helping it at all. The addiction got so bad that the studio sent him to a sanitarium. By this time, it was far too late because Reed's withdrawal symptoms led to him having a heart attack, which ended up killing him.
Now at number 2 is the king of rock and roll. I didn't know Elvis personally, obviously, but I was highly offended when I first found out he wasn't a natural brunette. Like, how dare you impersonate us like that? I'm shocked. Now, despite literally having it all, the fame, the looks, the talent, the fans, Elvis still harbored a lot of insecurities when it came to the bedroom. He only wanted to sleep with girls who had no experience, so there would be no added pressure on him to perform. And by no experience, I mean mine. He would ask his managers to collect girls who were of that age or younger, and then the deed would get done. And yes, this is illegal, and it was even then as well.
Finally, at number 1 is the final boss scandal. Now, at the time, this would have been a scandal to end all scandals. While filming the 1935 movie Call of the Wild, the lead actor Loretta Young and Clark Gable took a major fancy to one another, which resulted in an on-set-offset affair. Ooh, I mean, have you seen her? She's drop dead gorgeous. I would want to have an affair with her too, are you kidding? But that isn't what happened. It wasn't a love story, it was a 34-year-old Gable being infatuated with a 22-year-old Young, which ended up in him raping her, and now she was screwed. She didn't want to come out with it and risk ruining her career or Clark's. She knew if she went to 20th Century Pictures, they'd force her to have an abortion, and as a devout Catholic, she didn't want to do that, so she hid the whole pregnancy and went on holiday when she began to show too much. In November of that year, she gave birth to Judith, who she put up for adoption. For the next year and a half, she was moved from place to place before Young went back to adopt her. And despite going to all that trouble, many people didn't believe it. The child had shocking similarities to Gable, and everyone just assumed the two had been stupid and had a kid. She never came forward with her rape, and the family stayed silent until both Loretta and Judy had died. Holy crap, that's a crazy story.
That is it for today's video, guys. That was dark.
That was very dark.
I thought current Hollywood was...
Well, it is kind of messed up.
It's super messed up.
People are going to Epstein's Island. That's pretty...
What?
Yeah.
Is it Epstein's Island? Oh, sorry. I don't know why you said... I thought you said Weinstein. Yeah, I know.
No, yeah. And the Weinstein stuff is crazy too. It's like just as... Island? It's just as dark.
Oh.
I guess less forced abortion.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe there are, we just don't hear about them.
Guys, I don't know anything.
I don't know. Well, there's contraceptives now, so it's not as big of a deal.
Use protection.
Use protection. Or don't.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Whatever you want.
Yeah.
Either way, I've been your host for this one, Eamon Hassan.
I've been Jada Reyna.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. I wrote down we're going back to the golden age today, but he didn't want to say that because he thought it was lame.
What? No, I never said that.
Yeah, you did. I know you were thinking it.
No, what? I was well, you can't.
Yeah, I know you.
You can't know what people are thinking. This list got dropped on me out of nowhere. I didn't even see that part. I didn't even know that was in there.
Did you think it's like cheesy but funny?
I don't even know what part.
Disagree.
We're going back to the golden age today. Is that funny? That's not funny.
That's meant to be cheesy.
It's not. It's bad writing. It's bad writing. That's all it is.
Your host for this one, Eamon Hassan.
And I'm Jada Reyna. We're in the same bubble.
Yeah, that has to be said.
People didn't agree with you, they punch you in the head. That was it. That's how people dealt with their problems.
You were allowed to smoke cigarettes inside. It was complete anarchy.
You could smoke cigarettes on a baby. You could do that. You could be smoking on... blow it in the baby's face and they'd be like, that's good for the baby. They would tell you that. They'd be like, that makes your baby smarter, for sure. Your baby's gonna be the smartest baby.
I've watched so many tutorials of trying to get those, old Hollywood glamorous curls, and
really?
I haven't achieved them ever, but it's fine. Did we get the title in there somewhere?
We did.
Okay, I don't know. I don't trust you.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Of course they stay together. That's a good man. He's willing to shoot some dude for you? That's him. You keep that dude around. Now, I reckon.
Ha ha ha. Bloop bloop. You know when everyone's in love and the birds are going? Che is cute, you guys.
She knew that if she went to 20th Century Farks, she knew if she went... Farks. What I'm learning about old, people used to be like, yeah, back in the day we were hard. It's like, you guys were just big babies. You mama, I don't like your method of acting. It's like, God, guys, get over each other. Jesus Christ, you're all just whiners.